Hi, today I have a message called Everything Becomes Simple. So beginning with, it doesn't matter whether you seem to be hero or villain of the dream. So isn't that nice? You don't have to attempt to define yourself as hero in any situation or chastise yourself because you're not. And you don't have to attempt to chastise yourself by making yourself a villain in any situation, and you don't have to do that for anyone else. We don't have to attempt to define each other because our definitions don't depend on one another. They're the same definition. When you get right down to the root, right down to the foundation of what we are, we share the same meaning, the same definition. And so innocence doesn't come into being because there was a villain in the dream. And so one over here gets to play the character, that's the ingenue, that's the innocent. Innocence is prior to and beyond the dream. It just is. And it encompasses everyone. And villainy would be the thing we imagined that could pierce a hole in eternal innocence and bring into being something that would oppose innocence. So you don't have to strive to be especially innocent, because special innocence is an illusion, just like villainy. And you can relax into noticing that there is one innocence and you share it with all. And as we begin to see this, really want to look through the fear we're projecting on everyone and everything. And it's okay to still be aware we're still projecting fear on everyone and everything. But we have to deal with that in a calm and rational manner. And we can notice where we're imposing the limit of fear and the mirror of where we impose limits and structures in our own lives to protect ourselves. But we don't have to force ourselves behaviorally to let go of structures we're still clinging to in fear. We can look at the fear we're projecting on something or someone we call other and finding a problem with it, thinking that it's limiting us, which is impossible because we're together as one self, and as one self we're unlimited. So we find, in my case, exactly where. It seems to be a specific location. I find a specific thought. And that feels very empowering now. Even though I still believe these thoughts and live by them and behave by them. First of all, the freedom of not having to try to change that behavior before I've looked at the thought. The behavior aligns so easily and naturally with what we're thinking. And so to get at the root of any problem and see where I'm projecting fear on a situation. And it might take me a while to get there. It might seem to take me a week or two to really seem, it's only a seeming, because I could let all of this go in an instant, but I don't. So instead I'm given a process which I follow. And then I can really seem to get into that issue. All the thoughts I believe about it. And then it can deconstruct. And it doesn't have to keep appearing and looping in my experience, because what's the point of that? And we eventually learn on the world stage, same thing. What's the point of having these terrible deep problems keep appearing and looping? Well, all things work together for good. It's a means of noticing that we don't feel good about something, and that something is something that we're projecting fear upon. And we're projecting fear upon it so we can see this dream play out, this illusion of villainy versus heroism, or villainy versus innocence, when that isn't the truth at all. It's something we're seeing and experiencing, but it's not the truth at all. The truth is underneath it, or behind it, or within it. It's what's here with no opposite. There hasn't ever been an opposite to what's truly here, and yet we seem to see it playing out. And that's okay. And the access point I find to gradually let that go and to allow that to transform is finding a specific thought I believe. But I have to interrupt the narrative ego's providing for me to find a specific thought I believe. So interrupting the narrative, the sense the separate self is attempting to make of the world, is important. And I notice even as I do that, I'm still allowing the separate self to build these structures and limits and boundaries to keep itself safe. And that's okay, because I can start to look at those. And as I start to look at those, then they can change when it's time for them to change. I don't have to force it in accordance with an ideal of having no limits, structures, or boundaries. They can just change as my thinking changes. That's a natural flow. And we can look at the guy over there who seems to be separate from us but isn't. Instead of evaluating any limits, boundaries, demands going on in their minds, we can just be here with them as they are. Whether we're doing what they ask of us or not doing what they ask of us. Oftentimes we can find it's very easy to do what people ask of us. But when we begin to notice that we're doing what people ask of us with what feels like a lot of strain or resentment, it's time to stop and to look and to find the architecture and to go into it deeply. And doing that will help everyone, because we can get down into the foundation of what connects it all, us all, and we can allow that to be in charge. We don't know how that looks or feels yet, but because we haven't gone seemingly deep enough to access it, but we can find out. And we begin today by finding one specific thought we believe and setting it down for a moment. We may pick it right back up again, but at least we can set it down and look what's shining behind it and appreciate that. As you divest from the dream, you will notice others seemingly outside of you doing the same. And impatience can come up, which is its own loop where it seems like you want those outside of you to divest from the dream. I experience this, so I have to address it when it happens. And they're my mirror. So it's much better that I sit quietly and develop my ability to look at their being without evaluating what their person is doing or not doing. To look at their being and to let everything unfold from there. But we might find ourselves attempting to tinker at the person level. And that's okay, because we can eventually notice how that feels, and eventually notice that we're lying to ourselves. And this is an everyday thing for all of us, right? We can notice how we're lying to ourselves. We can find the thoughts we believe, and we can learn to just be with their being, which is perfectly flawless and perfectly fine. And from there, it requires a lot of patience to learn to rest. From there, then ideas might enter the mind about do this or do that. But if I'm trying to do this or do that to help someone I'm calling else in a state of anxiety, I'm just going to keep looping there and keep myself in an endless cycle of anxious helping. And eventually we do get tired of it. And eventually we learn how to put it down. And then as we learn how to put down that fear and really stop to notice the love that is real about every being, that's at the center of every being, we don't have to talk about it. And we don't have to impose it on anyone else. And we might be right in the middle of learning all that, and that's fine. And unlearning all the stuff that would mislead us. And that's fine. Because we're all walking home together. That's the important part. And as we're all walking home together, each one of us will be shown what we need to be shown. And we'll be able to follow it. That's the important part. Not that we attempt to understand any one of the myriad things that seem to be going on around us, but more the remembrance and the faith that each one of us gets shown and we're each capable of following. Okay, when you feel tension or stress, you are making something unreal real to you. And it's funny that no matter how deeply we seem to learn this, there's that moment where we fall right back into it. But having the tool of being able to step back and look at it, step back and examine it. I felt this feeling that's on the scale of egos. This is how you want to feel, and this is how you don't want to feel. That entire scale's false. And our actual state of being is always here, always accessible, but I trained myself not to access it. It's like this huge power source that I worked very hard to train myself out of accessing. And now I'm allowing myself access to it again. And it's the same power source you and everyone has access to right now. It's just love. It's what you are, it's what I am, it's what connects us. It's just peace. It's just joy. It's just truth. That's all it is. It's very simple. And any of us can access it at any moment and put it in charge and ask it, what should I do? What should I say? And I don't have to blame anyone else for not accessing it in their dealings with me. Because as anyone accesses it, it's like if you go to a pool of water, like you're a deer, and you find a pond and you drink from it, other animals are going to drink from it. You make the resource obvious. So that just happens in our being. We live kind of as the resource we're drawing from. And we don't have to have any shame about drawing from that false resource of all ego's thoughts and the feeling states of up and down ego offers us. The whole drug. Shame is part of that feeling state of up and down that ego offers us. We don't need to go into, there's no necessity there. Like, we're all still engaged in it, clearly. But there's this other resource. And that's the important thing. Not the extent to which we're still drawing on the old stuff. Because we taught ourselves very carefully for a long time that our entire safety was in all the ego thoughts that we receive and in the scale of up and down feeling that the ego can offer us. We taught ourselves that was the only thing. Then we started looking past it and we see there's something super simple here. Ego is extremely complicated. This other thing, which is the only thing that's truly here, is so simple. So simple that a baby's very familiar with it. It's so simple. You don't need the learning of the world to access it. You actually are it. You're it. And the more we learn to look toward this, the more we learn to share the path to it, and you don't even have to say or do anything to share the path to it. You may, you will, and those sayings and doings can be guided by our actual state of being that we cover up with the ego's up and down scale of feeling. So our actual state of being that we share all the time is truth, love, joy, peace, and grace. It's always here. It's always shining. And I'm still in the habit of slapping stickers on top of that. And even thinking that's good. And focusing on the stickers and trying to get my fix from the experience of ego's highs and lows. Still doing it, but I can feel the pain of it when I'm doing it, and I can reorient. So our great power is in reorientation. And as we reorient toward what is real, we start to see the effects of that. And we don't have to know what those are. It's better if we're not expecting any particular effects. We just start to see the effects of that. So when you feel tension, oh, okay, I already said that. We don't want to make the unreal real. We want to learn to recognize and look toward the real. Real, recognize real. We know what's real in all of us. You keep a tight hold on what you call problems. Isn't that interesting to see? That we want our problems. If I have a problem, I wanted it. And I found safety and security in the having of it. And that's still, it feels like a very tight place. I have to get in there and start to see that. You keep a tight hold on what you call problems because you believe it is your responsibility to fix them. Yeah. There's this thing called problem, and now you've got to fix it. That keeps us very busy. But now you can see your hands opening and the problems flying out to a source that has all the solutions. Your part was just letting go. So when we stop to acknowledge one thought we believe, we kind of lose our hold on the entire problem. We're just focusing on one little thing we think about it and putting that down. And that's kind of a way of stepping away for responsibility for particular problems and the fixing. We're responsible for what we see and experience. But to say a separate entity called me is separately responsible for this particular problem is to reinforce a whole lot of illusion. And instead, if I can see there's a solution to my problem, and all problems are the same one problem, misperception, and my part is to allow the solution, which doesn't come from my separate ego-made self and the instructions ego would give me to fix individual problems. It doesn't come from there. So then I give the problem to the source, to what I am with you. And then it becomes clear. If there's a saying or a doing that needs to be done, it can become clear, but not with what I would call separate me at the helm in charge. I know more and more what I want to be in charge is what we are together. That love, that truth, that grace, that peace, that is what we are together. That's the true state of our being. Despite any ego ups or downs, we're still addicted to, and we're addicted to both. We might think we like what we call happiness, which passes away, right? We might think we hate what we call unhappiness, but seeing that I'm addicted to and used to both of them, helps me understand, why do I feel unhappy? Because it's an addiction. But the more we step apart from our addiction to look at it, the more it dissolves and the more it doesn't seem to have a hold over us. And always we get those opportunities to practice, where we're in a situation where it seems very easy to speak and act from our addictive patterns, from what the ego is telling us. But even in the midst of those situations, we can stop and notice how we're feeling. Notice what we're believing. Refocus toward a symbol of what is real, or just toward what is real. Maybe you don't need a symbol. We refocus toward our unity. Just the awareness, there's something real here. My ego can't figure it out. I can't reason or interpret or analyze about it. I just receive. I'm a receiver. And I can put what is real in charge of this whole situation. I don't have to figure anything out. I don't have to defend. And somehow be led through it. With everyone I'm calling other. When you allow everything to be reduced to the barest simplicity, then everything becomes simple. So we're not judging what is especially good or wanted. I mean, we still do. What I want and what I don't want, that seems to be very powerful. But we're looking beyond those judgments and all the judgments about what we don't want. We're looking past that. And the barest simplicity is just what was here before any illusion or dream came on the scene. And what was here is love expanding forever. Creation extending forever. So we look away from any complexity, the ego's feeding to us, telling us we have to figure out, decide on. We look toward what is real here. And rest. We give ourselves a moment of rest. Think of, after all your struggle, after all your attempts to be responsible for illusion, instead of just being responsible for the decision to look upon illusion or reality. Illusion, we decided we wanted illusion, and we give ourselves a little rest. We interrupt the regularly scheduled addictive programming to give ourselves a little rest from our decision to be attached to illusion. Then everything becomes simple. Because as we look toward, I'm just looking at something, as we look toward what's here for all of us, it can make all the decisions that need to be made. For me, that's been a gradual process. And in the meantime, false me continues to make its decisions about what it wants and what it doesn't want. And at any time, I can step back and look at that operating and drop down a little more fully into, it really is okay to trust what we are together to make all of the decisions. And as I seem to question what my addiction would offer me more and turn toward what we are together more, then I trust you. I trust what you are. I don't trust your personality. I look through it, so you don't have to try to make it good enough. I'm going to be looking through that. No one has to try to charm or be funny, or we'll be looking through that. Your body, it's weird for us to think about, but we don't have to struggle to make that acceptable. There's a should. Should I stay away from shoulds? That won't ultimately be the thing that attracts us. Right now we're using it as a defensive barrier, and we could say bodies are the reasons that we're repulsed by a particular reason, being, or bodies are the reason that we're attracted to a particular being. But if you could think of instead, body is just a very, very simple communication device. And you can allow love to use the body you call yours. You can also allow love to use the entirety of any situation in which any other bodies are appearing. And you can allow love to be in charge of all of that. And we're just learning how to do that. We're just learning how to remember what's trustworthy and to trust it. And we can be patient and gentle with all of us, no matter what stage we seem to be on. The stage of a house we share, or neighborhood we share, or world we share, workplace we share. No matter what the stage seems to be, we can learn to be very patient and gentle and trusting, as everybody remembers and wakes up to. What is trustworthy? What is here to be trusted? We can look into everyone and see the abundant resource they have and the abundant resource they are. And we can place our faith in that. And when we place our faith in the abundant resource everybody has and is, and that will heal them. And that will heal us. Anything that's awry in our minds that causes the perception and experience of something non-peaceful, that will be healed in our minds by the peace that has always been at the core of our shared mind. We're going to allow that peace to extend everywhere and to heal everything. And that means we don't have to make ourselves responsible for trying to heal another in the sense that we think we as a separate one fix it. Instead, we allow what can transform to light up everywhere and to accomplish the appropriate transformations in the appropriate order at the right way at the right time, because we have faith and trust in what connects all of us and what's here for all of us. Then it becomes very, very simple. In this moment, am I tuned into what's real, or am I distracted by the fear I'm projecting on what's real? And we know by how we feel. If we're disturbed, and that can include what the ego calls happiness, because sooner or later you find anxiety there, and disturbance in what ego calls happiness. You look at it long enough, you see. So am I caught in that? It's okay if I am, because I can notice. I can notice the feeling. I can notice one thought I believe. I can set that thought down for a moment. I can reorient toward what is here. God is my Father and His Son loves Him. That's using male language, Christian language. It's from A Course in Miracles, which uses both. Rephrase anything however you need to. It's just a pointer toward what's actually here that uses words because we're used to words and we give meaning to words. If the words are more disturbing to you, and you just want to look directly toward what is actually here for all of us, the innocence that unites all of us without exception, then do that. Do whatever practice lights up for you. And it's going to look different. Some of us are going to appear to have no practice, and whoever's doing that or not doing that, no one's superior or inferior. Others will seem to have very different practices that help point them toward noticing and relaxing into what is actually here for us. And that's nothing I need to judge. I'll just get back into that stickiness if I try to judge, evaluate, compare, and analyze. The most important thing is all the many pathways end at the same place, and we are all walking home together, and keeping that in view, and being really patient and gentle with ourselves as we smack up against a really old boundary. And we have to, stand there for a while, treating it as real, and just gradually question and look and look and look. And eventually we see it's nothing at all. Okay. Hope this was helpful. Thank you.